The city was cold and dark. Broken streetlights flickered, and the wind moved trash along empty streets. The buildings looked tired, with windows cracked and walls covered in dirt. Somewhere far away a siren wailed. But most people stayed inside, ignoring the shadows outside. A small girl walked alone. She was very thin, her clothes torn and dirty. Her shoes were too big and one lace was missing. Her hair was messy and her face looked pale from hunger. She held a small, broken toy in her hands. The paint was almost gone and one arm was missing. The toy was old and useless to most people, but to her it was precious. It was her last possession. She looked around, hoping someone would notice her. Her stomach growled. She had not eaten since morning. She stepped into the street and called softly, "Toy for food, please." Some people walked past without looking. Some ignored her completely. One man pushed her slightly as he passed. A woman shook her head and walked faster. The girl tried not to cry. She was too tired for tears. Then she felt it. Someone was watching her. Across the street, a tall man stood under a flickering light. He wore a long dark coat, and his face was partially hidden in shadow. He did not move. He did not speak. He just watched her. The girl felt fear but also curiosity. There was something strange about him. His eyes were calm, too calm for this broken city. She slowly walked toward him. "Sir," she said quietly. "Toy for food." She lifted the toy higher, showing it to him. The man looked down at the toy. Then he looked at her. His eyes seemed to see more than her small body. They seemed to see her life, her hunger, her struggles. It was a look she had never seen on anyone before. After a long moment, he reached into his coat. The girl's heart jumped. He pulled out money and placed it gently in her small hands. Her eyes grew wide. It was more money than she had ever seen in her life. "Thank you," she whispered. She tried to smile. She gave him the toy. He took it carefully as if it was something valuable. But then something strange happened. He did not leave. He stood there holding the toy and looked up at the sky. The girl tilted her head. "Sir?" she asked. He looked down at her. "Are you alone?" he asked, his voice calm and deep. She nodded. "My parents, they are gone," she said. "I sell toys now." The man was silent. Around them the city felt empty. No cars passed. No one spoke. It was as if time itself had slowed down. "You gave up your last thing?" he said. "Why?" "I was hungry," she said simply. "And you looked kind." The man's hand tightened around the toy. Kind. That word seemed to hang in the air. Above them clouds moved strangely. The man tilted his head, listening. Something invisible. Something the girl could not see. His eyes glowed faintly for a moment, reflecting light in a strange way. "You should go," he said softly. "Buy food." She nodded and took a step away. Then she stopped. She looked at the toy in his hand. "It was my favorite," she said. "Please take care of it." The man froze. No one had ever said that to him before. "I will," he replied. The girl ran toward the light of a small shop at the end of the street. She held the money tightly, her heart racing. She did not look back. The man watched her until she disappeared. Then he looked down at the broken toy again. It was old, faded, useless to most people. But to him it was more than that. He raised his head and looked at the sky once more. Somewhere far above Earth, massive shapes moved in silence. The test had begun. And it had started with a small girl and a broken toy. For the girl it was just a toy. For the man it was the key to something much bigger. And neither of them knew it yet. The girl ran toward the small shop, her hands clutching the money. Her stomach still ached, but for the first time in hours she felt a little hope. Inside she bought a small loaf of bread. She held it close, afraid it might be taken from her. Outside the man watched from the shadows. He did not follow her openly. He did not want her to know he was there. But he moved silently, like a shadow blending with the city. He was not human. At least not fully. His eyes could see things no human could see. He could scan the city for danger, measure heartbeats, detect fear, hunger, even lies. He could move without making a sound. Cameras failed when he passed. Trash did not rustle under his steps. Tonight his mission was clear. Observe. Learn. Judge. And yet, something about the girl made him pause. She was small. Weak. Alone. But her actions spoke louder than any soldier, any weapon. She gave what she had even when she had nothing. He followed her quietly through the empty streets. A group of boys passed by, laughing roughly. Their eyes landed on the girl. She did not notice. But he did. A faint sound, barely audible, and the boys stopped. Fear flashed in their eyes. Something they could not explain pressed down on them. Without understanding why, they walked away. The girl continued, unaware. He paused on a rooftop looking down. The city was alive with small acts of kindness and cruelty. People stole, people fought. Others shared, helped, or gave. In every corner, he saw humanity in its simplest form: fear, hunger, love, and hope. Far above, hidden in space, the alien fleet waited. The council had sent him to judge this world. They had studied Earth for cycles, watching wars, hunger, greed, and destruction. They expected to see weakness. And they had. But they did not expect this. A small girl, giving her last possession to someone she barely knew. He remembered the toy in her hands. Broken. Faded. Powerless. Yet it meant everything. The girl stopped near a bridge to rest. She curled up on the cold concrete, holding the bread she bought. Her eyes closed and she slept. The man watched her from above. He activated a small field around her. The air grew warmer. Her breathing slowed. She slept safely without fear. It was an insignificant act for most, but not for him. He thought of his world. In his civilization, kindness had to be measured, tested, earned. Nothing was free. Nothing was given without return. Humans were different. He felt a strange emotion. Something he had not felt in a long time. He did not understand it completely. He only knew it mattered. A signal reached him. The council's voice echoed in his mind. Observer. Report. She is small, weak, alone. But she offered her last possession freely, he said. No anger. No fear of me. Only hope. Insignificant, the council replied. One child does not define a species. She thought I was kind, he said. Without proof. Without knowledge of my identity. The council was silent. Continue observation, they ordered. Judgment approaches. He closed the connection. Below, humans continued their lives. Some helped each other. Others ignored the world. Some stole. Some shared. He watched every action. The girl woke, rubbing her eyes. She looked around, and something in her small heart whispered that she was not alone. The man stepped forward slightly, remaining in the shadows. She did not see him fully. She only felt protection. Who's there? She whispered softly. He remained silent. Let her feel it but not see it fully. Above, the clouds shifted. Far beyond Earth, the alien fleet waited. The council argued, debated, analyzed. The man's eyes scanned the streets again. Humans were chaotic, unpredictable, and flawed. And yet, in the small choices, in the acts of sharing, in the courage of a small girl, he saw something remarkable. Hope. He thought about the toy in his hand, now stored safely in a pocket. It was meaningless to most, yet it represented more than any weapon could. Tonight, the world would be tested. And it all began with a small girl, a broken toy, and a stranger who was not fully human. The observer stood silently, watching, waiting, and protecting. And for the first time he wondered, could humans be more than the council expected? The city slept uneasily. Streetlights flickered and distant sirens cried across the empty streets. People stayed inside, closing doors and windows, unaware that far above them their world was being watched. The alien fleet floated silently in the darkness of space. Massive ships, larger than any city, glided above the clouds. They were hidden behind fields that made them invisible to the human eye, but nothing escaped their sensors. Inside the largest ship, the council gathered. Tall, strange figures, their bodies unlike any humans, stood in a wide circle. Every movement they made was precise, deliberate. Their eyes scanned streams of data showing wars, hunger, violence, and greed across Earth. They are primitive, one voice said, echoing through the chamber. Dangerous, another added. They destroy their own world without guidance, a third warned. At the center of the chamber, a symbol glowed. It marked the observer, the man who moved through the city below, unseen, studying humanity. Observer, the council spoke together. Report. He activated the connection, sending his senses to the fleet. Humans are divided, he said. They are weak, violent, and fearful. But they are not empty. Explain, the council demanded. They show care, he said. Even when they have nothing to give. Even when the world fails them, they act with kindness. The council paused. They had expected weakness. They had not expected this. The observer thought of the girl. Her small act of giving, offering her broken toy to a stranger without expecting anything in return. That act alone carried weight far greater than any weapon or power. The council spoke again. Isolated behavior. One child does not prove the species' value. Give them time, the observer said. Watch closely. The council did not argue. Time was limited, they reminded him. Judgment would come whether humans were ready or not. Below, humans continued their lives. A shop owner handed out food to a stranger. A mother comforted a crying child not her own. A man helped an elderly woman cross the street. Small acts of bravery, kindness, and care, invisible to most but recorded by the observer. The girl walked beside the river. Her toy was gone, replaced by a small piece of bread she had bought. She did not see the observer, but she felt him near. A protective shadow. Far above, the alien fleet shifted. One massive ship revealed a faint outline to Earth. People gasped, pointing to the sky. Phones and cameras captured shapes that no human had seen before. Panic spread. The girl looked up. Her heart raced. "They are watching us," she whispered. "Yes," the observer said, silent but near. "They are deciding." Some people panicked, running for shelter. Others stood frozen, unsure of what to do. But the girl stayed calm. She held the bread close and looked around at the small acts of kindness she could see: a neighbor helping an elderly man, a child giving water to a stray dog. "Observer," the council's voice echoed in his mind. "Final phase approaches. Report human intent." "They are unpredictable," he said. "Violent at times, yes. But capable of courage, kindness, and hope. Small acts, yes. But many. And that is their strength." The council debated among themselves. Calculations, probability analyses, behavioral predictions. Earth was messy. Humans were weak. But they were alive. In the city square, the girl placed the bread on the ground and stepped back. Slowly, others followed. They added food, water, small gifts, each act voluntary, unplanned, pure. No weapons. No orders. Just care. The observer recorded everything. This was not a species ruled by fear. This was humanity acting from heart, from instinct, from empathy. The council sensed the shift. Emotional behavior detected. "But insufficient for survival," one voice said. "Yes," another countered. "But the pattern is growing. Look closer." The observer sent more data. The small acts multiplied. Fear was there, yes, but courage grew faster. Humans, the weakest species, showed something unexpected: heart. Above Earth, the fleet waited silently. The council debated. Judgment had begun. And yet, no one could predict what humans would do next. The girl looked at the horizon, holding her small bread. She did not know it, but she had started a ripple. A ripple that could change the council's mind. The observer watched her, and for the first time he wondered, could humans truly be more than the sum of their flaws? And far above, the alien fleet continued its silent vigil, waiting for the answer. The city was quieter now, but the air was heavy. The alien ships still floated above, huge and silent. People stayed inside, afraid of the unknown shapes in the sky. Fear was everywhere. The girl walked alone through the empty streets. Her stomach hurt, but she felt something stronger now, a small courage she could not explain. She held the toy in her hands, the broken, faded piece of plastic that had meant so much to her. She stopped in the square, the same place where she had first met the stranger. She looked around at the empty buildings and the shadows that moved with the wind. She felt the presence of the man behind her. He did not show himself fully, but she sensed he was there. "They are still watching," she whispered. "Yes," he replied. "And they are deciding your world's fate." The girl thought of her toy. She had given it away before for food. But now it meant more. She placed the toy carefully on the ground in the middle of the square. "You can have it," she said softly. The man looked at her. "I already bought it," he said. She shook her head. "This time it is not for food." The man felt something stir inside him. He had never seen a human do this. Giving without need. Choosing kindness even when the world was full of fear. "Why?" he asked. "Because if they are judging us," she said, "they should see who we really are." The man looked at the small girl. Her eyes were calm. Determined. Despite fear, despite hunger, she had made a choice. Above them, lights moved in the alien ships. The council noticed the act. The observer sent the image. "She is giving freely," he said. "Without reward. Without fear of loss." The council debated. "Weakness," one said. "No," the man said. "Strength. True strength." The girl stepped back, watching her small toy in the center of the square. Then something unexpected happened. A man appeared from a nearby street, carrying food. A woman followed, holding water. A child placed a blanket beside the toy. They did not speak. They did not look at the girl. They only placed small gifts, one after another, adding to the pile on the ground. The girl's eyes widened. Her small act had inspired others. Humans were choosing kindness even in fear. The man sent the image to the council. "Observe," he said. Silence followed. The ships remained still. The council debated the meaning of this behavior. The girl looked up at the man behind her. "Did I do the right thing?" she asked. "You reminded them," he said. "You reminded them who they are." The girl smiled faintly. She could feel it. The fear in the city was still there, but it had changed. It had softened. Humans were acting together. They were choosing heart over fear. The man turned his attention to the skies. He raised a hand, and a faint shield formed over the girl in the square. Invisible to humans, it protected them from any danger the night might bring. The girl did not move. She stood in the center, small and fragile but brave. She had made a choice, and that choice had sparked something bigger. Above, the alien fleet shifted slightly, noticing the pattern of kindness growing. The council recorded every movement, every gift, every human act. The observer looked at the girl. "This is why they survive," he said softly. "Not because they are strong but because they care. Even when they are weak. Even when they are afraid." The girl looked at her small toy again. Broken, faded, and powerless to most. But it had started a chain reaction. It had reminded humans of what they could be, kind, brave, and united. And somewhere far above, the Council of Aliens realized something they had not expected. Weakness was not the only measure of a species. Heart mattered more. The girl smiled, holding nothing but a broken toy, standing alone in a city of shadows. And for the first time, the world above Earth might just be watching, and learning. The square was alive with quiet energy. The girl stood in the center, small and fragile, holding nothing but her broken toy. Around her, people began to step forward, one by one. No one gave orders. No one forced them. Each act was a choice. A man placed a bottle of water beside the toy. A woman added a loaf of bread. A child laid down a small blanket. Others followed, slowly building a pile of gifts, each small but meaningful. The man behind her observed silently. He could see everything, the fear, the hesitation, and then the courage that grew in each human heart. The alien fleet hovered above. This time their lights were visible. People screamed, pointing at the massive shapes in the sky. Phones recorded the silent ships. Sirens blared. Fear gripped the city. But the girl did not move. She stood calm, facing the sky, her small chest rising and falling steadily. "They are watching," she whispered to the man. "Yes," he said. "And this is your voice." The council spoke through the fleet. Their voice echoed in every corner of the city. "Species of Earth, you are being judged." People froze. Some fell to their knees. Some held hands. But the girl raised her head. "We know," she said. "We know you are watching." The observer looked at her. She was speaking not with words of fear but truth. Not as a weapon, not as a threat, but as a reflection of humanity. The council's lights flickered. "You are weak, divided, violent," the voice said. "Yes," the girl admitted. "Sometimes. But we help each other," she said. "Even when we have nothing. Even when we are afraid." She pointed to the pile of gifts at her feet. "This is what we do. We give. We protect. We care." The man behind her sent the view to the council. "Observe," he said. "These actions are voluntary. They are real." The council analyzed the images and the energy patterns. "Emotional behavior does not equal strength," one voice argued. "No," the observer said. "It shows resilience, courage, true strength under fear." A sudden movement startled the crowd. Soldiers appeared, raising their weapons to the sky. Panic rippled. The girl turned to them. "Please," she said calmly. "Not like this." The soldiers froze. They looked at the crowd, at the children, at the small gifts on the ground. Slowly, hesitantly, they lowered their weapons. Others followed. The observer smiled slightly. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but sometimes their choices were perfect. The sky shifted. A massive shape moved closer, now fully visible to all. Its surface glowed with strange energy. People gasped, stepping back, afraid of what they could not understand. The voice from the fleet echoed again. "Why should you be spared?" The girl stepped forward. Her small voice rang out across the square. "Because we learn," she said. "Even when we fail." She looked at the people around her. "We fall, but we help each other get back up." The council paused. There was no lie, no trick, no fear in her tone. Just honesty. "Observer, what say you?" the voice demanded. He did not hesitate. "They are flawed," he said. "But they are capable of courage. They are capable of hope. They are capable of choosing kindness, even when fear surrounds them. The council argued among themselves. Potential. Uncertainty. Then the girl spoke again. If you destroy us, you will be strong. But if you spare us, you will be right. Silence fell. Humans held their breath. The city seemed to wait. The alien fleet did not move. The council did not speak. For the first time, Earth was not begging. Earth was speaking. With courage. With truth. And in that moment, the observer knew that the small girl, a broken toy, and the people who followed her had done something no weapon or machine could do. They had shown the heart of humanity. The council recorded everything. Every choice, every act. Every moment of courage. Above the earth, the alien fleet waited. Judgment was near. But for the first time, the outcome was uncertain. Humans had spoken. And they had done it with no weapons, no force, only heart. The man behind the girl looked at her quietly. This is why they survive, he whispered. Because even in fear they choose to be brave. Because even in weakness they choose kindness. The girl held her toy tightly, standing tall. She had given the first voice to humanity. And now the world might finally hear it. The city held its breath. Above, the alien fleet hovered silently, massive and glowing. Shadows stretched over the streets below, and every human could see the enormous ships for the first time. Fear gripped their hearts. Some cried. Some clutched loved ones. Some froze in place. The girl stood in the square, clutching her broken toy. She was small under the towering fleet, but she did not move. Her chest rose and fell steadily. She looked at the sky, and for the first time she did not feel afraid. The voice of the council echoed across the city. Species of Earth. Final judgment begins. The observer stood beside the girl, unseen by the humans. His eyes scanned the city, watching every heartbeat, every small act of kindness, every frightened glance. Humans were weak. Humans were flawed. But tonight they were showing something more. The girl raised her voice, steady and clear. We know you are watching. We know you can judge us. But we are not all bad. We fall, yes. We fight, yes. We are afraid, yes. But we also help. We also care. Even when we have nothing, we give. The council spoke among themselves. They are emotional, illogical, insignificant. Observe carefully, the observer replied. This is the strength of humans. Not weapons. Not fleets. Heart. A wave of energy passed through the square. The crowd froze again. Soldiers raised their weapons instinctively, but their hands trembled. The girl looked at them. Do not be afraid, she said. We are not alone. Slowly the people lowered their weapons. They joined hands, forming small circles. They added food, blankets, water, and small gifts around the broken toy in the square. Their acts were voluntary. They were small, but they were meaningful. The council analyzed the data. Behavior inconsistent. Emotional response detected, but insufficient for survival. No, the observer said firmly. This is not emotion. This is choice. They act with courage. They act with kindness under fear. This is strength you cannot measure. The girl stepped forward. Her voice rang across the square. If you destroy us, you will be strong. But if you spare us, you will be right. The fleet remained silent. The council debated fiercely. Potential. Uncertainty. But the data was clear. Humans had shown heart, unity, and bravery. The observer sent one last view. The acts of kindness were growing, spreading across the city. Fear remained, yes, but courage outshone it. Humans had chosen to be better than their fears. The council paused. This had never happened before. A species so weak, so flawed, and yet capable of hope. The voice of the council finally spoke again. Final decision made. The ships shifted slightly. They did not attack. They did not leave. They waited. A signal of judgment, but also of acknowledgement. The girl looked at the observer. Did we do it? She whispered. Yes, he said softly. You reminded them. You reminded all of us. The city below slowly exhaled. Fear remained, but it had softened. Humans had survived the test. They had not fought with weapons or threats. They had survived with courage, heart, and unity. The observer turned to the sky one last time. Somewhere, beyond the clouds and the stars, the council had recorded everything. Humans could not know their fate completely yet, but hope had taken root. The girl held her toy tightly. Broken, faded, powerless to others. But powerful enough to change the judgment of an alien fleet. And for the first time the observer wondered, could humanity truly become something more than the council expected? He looked down at the city. The lights were still flickering. People were still afraid. But in the center of the square, a small child stood tall. She had given the first voice to humanity, and now the world might finally hear it. The final judgment was complete, the outcome uncertain. But one truth remained clear: heart, courage, and kindness could shine brighter than any weapon, even across the stars. The city was quiet now. The alien fleet hovered above, massive and silent, but it no longer seemed threatening. Its presence was heavy, almost like a shadow stretching over the streets. Every human could feel it. Fear was still there, but it had changed. It was tempered by hope. The girl stood in the square holding her broken toy. It was small, faded, and powerless to most, but to her it was everything. She looked up at the ships above, her chest steady, her eyes calm. She did not feel small anymore. The stranger stood beside her. He had been watching, protecting, and guiding, unseen by the humans around him. He was not fully human, not fully alien, but he understood both worlds. Tonight he had seen something remarkable: the strength of the human heart. The alien voice spoke again. "Species of Earth, your judgment is complete." The crowd froze. The girl tightened her grip on the toy. She looked at the man behind her. "Are we safe?" she whispered. "Yes," he said softly. "Because you showed them what humans truly are." Humans had been weak, chaotic, and unpredictable. But their small acts of courage and kindness had reached the eyes and minds of beings far stronger than themselves. The council had seen it. They had recorded every choice, every act of giving, every selfless moment. And now, for the first time, Earth had survived judgment, not because of strength, weapons, or fear, but because of heart. The stranger reached into his coat and pulled out a small device. A faint hum filled the air. Invisible waves spread across the city. Protective fields, gentle shields, and subtle energy ripples ensured that Earth would have time to rebuild, grow, and continue. Humans did not notice, but they would feel the effects in time. The girl looked at him. "Will you stay?" He shook his head. "Not yet. My world has other duties. But I will always watch. And when Earth needs me, I will return.